love your enthusiasm and your contribution. So thank you in advance for that. I am a business and personal coach. I've been doing that for over 25 years now. And I am just thrilled for the opportunity to spend some time with you.
I am so excited for it as well. I forgot to turn my phone on Do Not Disturb, so my phone just started blowing up. No, I'm so excited. Like I said, just last year of us knowing each other and being friends, like I know it's helped me tremendously. And there will be one day where you are a part of our team in some form or fashion, because I know you have brought so much value to me personally on the personal side of things. I can only imagine what you do for our team internally when that day comes. So whenever that day happens, I am like super pumped for it, because we'll change a lot of lives, and even from something like this, I know it'll really reach a lot of people today, and really kind of just coordinate and relate to a lot of people. So to get right into it, this week is bridging the balance, and which is what actually pretty much every conversation we have, it seems like, if it's a professional conversation, not just, hey, how are the kids, is about balance. And with me, just like, I'm crazy, and at the end of the day, and I have a really odd mind, and I have a hard time as well with this and balance. Like, I get into those hyperactive states, and just like, I have things that I want to do, and those are the only things I want to do. And I don't want anything to do with anybody else except what I'm doing in that moment, whether it's formatting emails or coming up with a new framework. So, I mean, as you know, a few weeks ago, I called you. It was like 10 o'clock one night, and there was something that happened it was about a month ago, right? Three or 4 weeks ago. And it was, I had tried to get some type of feedback or advice from, whether it was my family or like, closer friends. And it just, something still felt off. And I was going, I went dancing that night. And so I was like, I'm going to go dancing. Well, then on my way to go dancing, it was like, it just wasn't, nothing was resonating. And I was like, who do I call? Karin. Your first name that popped in my head was Karin. And we talked for hour and a half in the parking lot that night. It's like 11:30. And it was just like, it changed. And that was from that moment, I was like, we're doing a show, because so many things changed in just an hour. But to kick things off, like, what would you say whenever you look at the aspect of like bridging balance, between your professional and personal life? What would you say the biggest thing you see with, other teams or even people you work with closely?
Good question. I think that we ask ourselves that question often too, right? And we make transitions in our business or in our personal life, and we're always trying to kind of create some kind of balance that says, I can do everything. And that can be, I think, a little bit deceiving, actually, to even imagine that there's such a thing as balance. We have work life and we have personal life, but in reality, it's all our lives. It's all life. So I don't know that our attempt to decompartmentalize each one really serves us. I think we have to look at it broadly and say, okay, is there such a thing as balance? Or is there such a thing as reaching our goals and achieving fulfillment without having it to be a certain way? There's always, life does not look typically the way we think it's going to look, right? And someone shared with me not too long ago, actually, they were talking about an EKG, and we were looking at the heart, and they said, like, that's life, like meaning, wow, the heart is beating, that's life. And I was like, no, that is life. That is life. And when it's smooth, it totally is a flat line, like I don't really want to be dad. Like, I don't want everything to be just right and perfect and understood, and a lack of curiosity, and um, a lack of learning, because we're like this, we're constantly learning. So when I think about balance, I'm going to tell you, I don't particularly believe in the notion that there is an exact balance between our work and our personal life. I think it is life, and we have to look at it way and be willing to experience it, all of it, all of it. And when we anticipate it, right, it changes everything. It doesn't throw us off so much when we realize things are not always going to work out exactly the way we'd like. We are going to make a mistake. We are going to be late, not of our own accord. We are going to, just recently, we missed an airplane because we happen to have two daughters who are precious, and they both happen to have some differences, and so they have some special needs, and we could not move one of them off center to get on the plane, and we literally missed the plane, and we literally paid a whole lot more money to get on the next flight. And you're just thinking, okay, what do I do? I could be mad. I could enforce some kind of discipline. It just doesn't matter. The fact is, we missed the plane. And that's how life is sometimes. It just isn't going to work out exactly the way you want to. So how do we prepare for that, right? When you're talking about balance, what does it look like to you? Wait, like, if you think about if you had your life in balance, what would that look like?
I mean, oddly enough, like for me, my life now feels balanced because like everybody outside of me say that my life is not balanced. If you look at the commonality, it's so true. Like there's days that I work 18 hours. There's days that I work 29 hours and I don't sleep. There's some days where I work 4 hours because that's usually the weekends, or most of the time on the weekends, I'm usually working too. But to me, my life is balanced because I do what my brain wants to do in that moment. And that's the time where I get the most inspiration. Those are the times I feel the happiest. So it feels balanced to me, but I know there's a point where I have to pull myself back and I have to say like, okay, listen, you've got to take a break. Like you've got to go out and do something. Like I did it this weekend. Like last week was a long week and it was rough. And so this weekend, Sunday, I said, I'm not doing anything on Sunday except stuff that needs to be done around the house or, a hobby or whatever. So did I end up like working? Yes, but it was like in the yard, and I have a big garden at my house, and I was out in the garden, and I did those kinds of things. But there was actually in one of our previous shows, we were talking about this similar thing, and this is actually what the show transitioned to be. We were talking before the show, like the show completely shifted from what we were actually going to be talking about, and what was said was balance doesn't exist. You have to find a way to integrate. Big word. Instead of balance, we shifted the word to integration. So how do I integrate what's happening right now in my professional life into my personal, or my personal into my professional?
Right.
So sometimes it's the same. Same thing I saw the other day on another show that I watched, but it pops up on TikTok, like you're scrolling and they do like a 30-second clip of the show.
Right.
And it was these two girls, and they're all over my feed now and then I ended up following them too. So now I see them all the time. But what they were saying was they're also executives, and they were like, the biggest thing that people need to find especially in an entrepreneurial role or business role, or like just leadership role overall, where work never ends. Like you might be home, but the store's still open, or things are still happening or people are still working. It's they were talking, you have to have this specific relationship where you can come home from work, or you have a person you can go to and say, hey, today I'm a 30, can you be the 70? Because right now work in my professional life right now is taking 70% from me. Like
Mm-hmm.
my brain is not, we can't be equal right now.
Mm-hmm.
I need your help. So can you do that for me? And they were talking about their husbands. Like, hey, work was awful today. Like I'm a 10.
Right.
Can you be a 90, or do I need to figure something out?
Right.
And,
Good
and
next. Yeah. Good next question, because sometimes their day was a 10 too.
yeah. And so it's okay, perfect. You know, and they were saying like, okay, and if both of you are a 10, you've got to find the other 80 somewhere. They were like, then we sit down at the table and we have a serious conversation about it for 15 minutes. And we say, okay, this is what needs to get done. Who can we call? You know, or what do we need to do to make that happen? And so I say that in the retrospect of integration. Like, just because you walk out the front door of the office, or you walk out of the office, or you walk out of your house in the morning and there's stuff going on at home, like just because you walk out the door doesn't mean that part of your life doesn't exist. So there's got to be a way to integrate it into that next step of your life, which, or that other phase of life, that other sphere of professional and personal. And so really at the end of the day, like balance to me is that integration. And so I know that my balance is different than yours. And I know that, you know, people on my team's balance is different than mine. And we're all different. And so it's to me like, get done what you need to get done, but do it in a healthy manner. And as you know, that's something that I have difficulties with, is I have a hard time sleeping. Like, and it's just because my brain's always going. It's hard to shut it off. But what I've found, when I know I'm getting to a place where I'm not in a healthy state anymore, like where I can feel it, like my body's just aching and I'm tired, and like, yes, there are times that I feel that way. That's when I know that's my body telling me, hey, we're back there again. We need to figure something out. That's when I do something that relaxes my mind, which is like, you know, candles or gardening or whatever else, and it pulls me back. So that balance, it's different for everybody. Like some people can handle 4 hours of work at a time. Some people can handle 37 hours of work at a time. And it all depends on the person, but you've got to find a way that integration, you know, for you, how does it work? You know, is there somebody that you can talk to about it at work? Is there somebody you could talk to about it at home? And so it's so different. And I think that's why it's really difficult, is people try to find that help and they can't find it because nobody seems to really know the true answer. It's everybody has these different beliefs and analogies behind it. I mean, so what do you think? Like,
Well, agreed. I agree. I like the word integration. I think when you think about the word integration, it's really specific to integrating certain things, like into what you want your life to look like and to feel like. It's so important. Sometimes we forget, because when you want it to look a certain way, you want to have anything, you just want a particular home, or you want a yacht, or you want your business to make a certain amount of money. People arrive at that particular goal and they don't feel exactly how they thought they might feel. So not only when you're creating goals and, you know, even considering dreams, if you will, what you want most, you've also got to consider how you want to feel. Because once you start making choices, right? Every day, our life is just made up of choices. So those choices are either going to bring you closer or further away from where you want to be. But you've got to remember, I think clarity is key, absolutely key. We have to spend enough time with ourselves We need to listen to ourselves, not to always everybody else. We have to listen to ourselves, be crystal clear. What is it that I want? What is it that I want most of all? Most of all. Because you can really want all this success, but if it doesn't fill you up, it's like, oh, that's what I thought I wanted, right? Sometimes we get there and our goals, I thought I wanted that. But then you get there and it's not feeling. So we can't leave that piece out. I want this and I want to feel this way. I want peace. I want to feel love fully in my relationships. I want to feel like I give myself permission to make a mistake, to fail. You can actually make for yourself as you make goals. I want to make this much money by this. There are also certain things that, like, kind of an integrity within yourself that will lead you as you are going down this road. Now, let me just say, for instance, why that's important, because if you have a family, for instance, I know currently you don't, but you do have responsibilities to people that you love, right? So you could say that's a family, right? So as you are focusing on their significance and importance to you in your life, you have to make decisions that enable you to be present to those people, that enable you to love fully, that enable you to have integrity in your relationship, that enable you to listen so that they're heard. I mean, because we listen like, oh, yeah, I got it. Yeah, no, I heard it. Okay, yeah. No, but so that they're actually heard. So you get crystal clear on what it is you want, and then you list your priorities. This is who I want to show up as in my business and in my family. I want to show up like this. Okay. So you know that this is really a priority to you. You're clear on what you want to do, but then you have a priority. And then you make choices within that set of priorities. Then once you've made those choices, you set boundaries. Okay, I said that I would be willing to be home with my family 3 times a week for dinner. You set that boundary. It's not just a choice. You must have a boundary, okay, to support what you're trying to accomplish. You got to observe them. You can't just like set them. You got to like say, yeah, that's it. Because once again, we do this. We all do. We get enthusiastic about our job, or even maybe and something going on in our family. And we fail to integrate with each.
Oh, for sure.
We fail miserably, right? And then we're miserable. And then we're like, I'm not doing anything right. Not really. But if we do have clarity on what we want to accomplish, if we do set those priorities, set them as priorities, and really include how we want to feel when we get there, how I want to feel when I'm at the office, how I want to feel when I'm with my family, how do I want to feel when I'm with them? And then you're going to have to kind of backtrack just a little bit and make sure that your choices give you the room to have that fulfillment. Does that make sense to you?
To me, I mean, it's perfect sense. And it ties back to the conversation we had that one night when I was in the parking lot was, well, how do you feel? And I was like, not good. Whatever, what I was dealing with at the time, I was like, I don't feel good about it right now. That's for sure. And I haven't felt good about it for quite a while. In that situation, like just in that situation, I hadn't felt comfortable. And it was just something that I was putting up with because I thought I had to deal with it. Because that was just a part of it. But really what it was just, by that point I had pulled the plug already. I had already disconnected. I was just holding on for dear life, trying to save it. And it wasn't it wasn't going to happen. It wasn't worth saving because it was affecting every other part of what I was having to deal with. Like it was just
Yeah,
very.
I appreciate what you're saying there too. And I think that, you know what, it's not a touchy-feely kind of feel,
Mm,
right?
yeah,
It's the feeling that motivates your choices, that moves you in one direction or another. It
yeah, and that was that was where it was it was in that aspect though. That's where it was holding me back. It was my brain. That's all my brain was consumed by because I didn't even know what I was trying to get. I didn't even know what was the next step for the company. I always know the next step for the company. Like I always know where I'm trying to go next with it. But with that whole situation, it was like it was blocking everything. And that's why I knew I had to call you because I was like, Karin will set me straight. I know Karin will know what to say. And I know that she's going to know how to read how I feel. And I know that when I say something, she's going to be like, oh, here's the problem. And I would totally skipped over it because it's just when you're in those kinds of situations, you do become blind to where you're trying to go with things and how fulfilled you do feel by the certain thing. And I think in that regard, I think that's to why I love business so much because
Mhm.
that's where I'm fulfilled. Like some people, they're fulfilled by family and kids and or shopping or I don't know whatever everybody else is, but I know what mine is, and it's business. I love business, and when I am dealing with anything, whatever it has to do with it, I just like I'm so even if it's a problem. Like, yeah, some problems are just like, are you kidding me? Serious? Like just like the whole airplane thing at the airport with the kids. Like, why is this happening right now? Like, seriously? And but it's still one of those things that like I don't dread having to fix it or having to work on it because I'm fulfilled by it. Because when I finish it, I know when I finish it, I'm going to be like, oh my gosh, I did that. Like I just fixed that problem. And at the beginning, there wasn't as many problems. Now it's like every hour there's another text message. It's like, oh, well, perfect. We'll add that to the list. But it's not like in a sarcastic manner of okay, we need to add this. We're going to work on it. We're going to look at it. We're going to fix it. You know, I know a lot of other people's that have seen that list are like, see you later. Like, no, we're not even going to look at it or touch it. And it's just that's where my fulfillment comes from. Just like your fulfillment comes from someplace else too. And so
Mhm.
X Y Z person. There's actually we have another powerhouse on the show, Joni right here. I met Joni. She was a client in Premiere. She was actually one of our very first clients. And I really appreciate that, Joni. And it she's a speaker as well. I'm actually going to one of her shows. I think it's next week, Joni, isn't it? So yeah, she's
No, Joni, put it up there so we can see it, will you?
oh, it's up there right now.
Oh, where her show is?
Oh, the show. Oh, sorry, I thought you meant the comment. Y'all can just go to jonivannoy.com and then go see her show. But no, she's amazing. But that right there, that is one person that you could have a conversation with and talk about balance and integration. Because not only does she have a career, but she has a completely separate professional life and kids, and she's managing all of it. And she has sold out every single one of her shows since the beginning, while also having an 8 to 5 career profession. So that's one person right there that can integrate.
So congrats, Joni. So that's amazing and wonderful that she can do that.
For
That's
sure. For
yeah,
sure.
yeah. That she deserves like a lot of respect for that. And I'm
It's
sure that
hard.
she learned because there's days that doesn't come easily to her, and you set
Mhm.
great at that, setting expectations. Look, there are going to be things that aren't going to work out,
Yeah.
right? And that doesn't then stop you in your tracks. You just say, okay, that was the thing that didn't work out the way I thought. But your mind goes like, you want to solve that problem. Oftentimes, unfortunately, some people then let that get to stop them from progression, which is not something that you have to worry too much about. You're really good at that.
Well,
Yeah.
thank you.
Like, you kind of like the problem in a way,
Oh, yeah, I do.
you like the solving process.
I Yeah, we've had a conversation about it before. I love building things, and
Yeah.
it could be I mean, it could be anything. Like I like building stuff. Like not with my hands physically, but just like in my mind, working through that process. That's my thing. I love building. That's also why I'm not very good at, like, I have to have somebody there by my side to work through operations with me. Like,
Mhm.
I can create the process for it. Like, I can figure out the most efficient way to do it. But when you ask me to execute it, no, because my brain, the way it is it's thinking about all of the other things that I could be building right now.
Right. It doesn't slow down enough to take the steps to get
Yeah,
that one thing done. Right. And
I
that's
have
okay.
to have an implementer. Like, I have to have somebody there to look at the process and go, got it. Step 1 through 11, I can do it. Because I can do it, but I'm miserable doing it. I don't like it. I never will. I know that because that's not how my brain works.
And you don't have to.
Yeah. And
That's the beauty of
that's how I know
it.
my balance. Like,
Mhm.
I know when I hit there's a certain point that I can hit to where I can still be present and available in that aspect, and it comes pretty quick. Um, like we're maybe I can do it for maybe a couple days, but there becomes a point where, like, I shut down mentally because it's like I overload. It's like my
Mhm.
internal system just, like, gets to a point where it shuts off because it's like there is nothing else that you can fit in right now on the list. So see you later. But then you shut down and then you don't get anything done. And then nobody sees value, and everything that we were saying at the beginning of the call, nothing that you're doing that you're that does make you happy, and the things that you promised, like, I'm going to be home 3 times a week to have dinner with the family, or whatever it is that you set that expectation, then none of those things happen because you're not present, because you did lose the balance, you did lose the integration of that professional and that personal. And I will say I have gotten much better with that earlier because of what we talked about that night on the phone. Like,
Mhm.
May was a awful, like, that month was just like, ugh. I honestly don't even remember it. Like, it was just a blur. Like, I got so deep into building because I enjoyed it so much. Everything else behind me and, like, around me it was not apparent whatsoever. Like, I didn't make those promises to myself. Like, I don't have kids, but I didn't make the promise to be home 3 nights a week to have dinner with the family. And it came back and bit me real hard. Um, and so I don't do that anymore. I have gotten much better about it. And if it wasn't for someone like yourself, I would probably still be doing it.
Well, and just remember too, and you might again, like, whole
Yeah.
new set of circumstances might come up again, right? So we have to keep training ourselves, at different seasons in our life. So, and that's okay too. That's just okay. It's really okay. We just want to go back again and just get really clear and make sure that we keep in mind whatever we're up to that also aligns with um, how we want to show up on the planet, right? We get cranky. We just get in a certain
Mm.
day, we get cranky, right? We get cranky with work or we get cranky with our kids, and you know, and that's okay. We're all going to do that occasionally. But if if that's a priority, that really we show up wholehearted with integrity, knowing our strengths. You know your strengths. You're a builder, right? You got to be really clear on what those strengths are, right? We want to show up with our best. So we got to know what that is. And we have to really be certain also on when we have other individuals, other relationships in our life, how we want to show up with those relationships. Work has relationships. We have family relationships. We have friend relationships.
Mhm.
And in this case, I just want to point out to you that once again, work and personal really, they shouldn't be so far apart. They really shouldn't be so far apart because we met in a working environment, right? We've become good friends. I find that with a lot of my clients, we become good friends. You know what happens too when you like team up with people, you like maybe okay, we're friends now, so let's go play pickleball. And then you like get to know them a little bit better and you support them in a different way. And then there's a camaraderie that builds. And eventually you want the best for them. Like you really like you think we want the best. Of course, we want to be a good person. We want the best for everybody. Okay. But when we've built a relationship, we've become invested, like we really begin to feel that, right? And we want to show up in another person's life. Like we're all in.
I completely agree. I mean, there's been from events that we've gone to together, there's been like those are the people now that are my inner circle. Like, you know, yes, most of my friends are at least double my age. Oh well, I really don't care. Because they are the most authentic, most wholesome relationships. And it's the same thing with my investors. Like there are several of my investors that when we go and get lunch, we go and go get dinner. We might go, to downtown and go dinner, then go shopping. I mean, there's a relationship now. At the beginning, it was, I want my return, right? And we ended up building this relationship where it's like, yes, I did. I gave you money. But now, how can I help you? Like, I want a relationship with you. I see that you're struggling with XYZ. How can I help you? Is there a specific relationship that you need? Like, is there somebody that I might know that can help you with this? Because I'm not strong either in that place. So maybe there's somebody we could work together, or, is there a certain service that I can provide to you? I mean, and it's not even, it doesn't have to be professional, because a lot of those things are personal.
Mhm.
And there have been things with the investors as well that relationship at the beginning was completely entirely professional. It was only work. That's it, right? You give me money, then I give you money back later with more money. And, then you move on to your next deal. But what I've seen from it is we're not only invested into this thing, this business, this child at the end of the day, that has more tantrums than any child I've ever met in my life, honestly. But um, now it's, you get the text, "Hey, how are you doing today? How are you doing? Not how's the business doing? How are you doing? I don't care
Mhm.
about the money right now. Like, where are you mentally? You know, are you sleeping? Are you taking care of the things that need done personally? Are you investing in your personal relationships, your family, everything else? That's what the relationship shifts to. And so, yeah, I mean, that's why I don't believe in the balance. I believe in the integration, because that would never happen if they were separate. If there was a balance of I'm working, I'm not working,
Mhm.
like how would you
Right.
connect them?
Good example. And kudos to you, really, Wade, for your authenticity, because that's what built that relationship. And we should all take note from that, that being authentic and really being invested in relationships. And that comes back to setting an intention though with ourselves. And we have to listen, like be quiet for a minute, really listen to ourselves. And again, I'm all in here. We are on a podcast. I'm all in on reading. I read a lot. I listen a lot, but sometimes we have to stop, listen to ourselves, and say, what is it that you want most? Be super clear on that. What is it that you want most? And then bring it. then bring that into your relationships. Don't be afraid to have a relationship in, a personal relationship. And I know people, I mean, there's a lot, oh, you can't be personal with people that you work with. Okay, that's definitely a way to look at it. But I can tell you that my experience over many years says that when you invest yourself in those relationships and you fully show up, that you build something different, something special, something that is mutually a contribution. And it is the perfect example of integration with your personal
Mhm.
life and your business life. Because once again, at the end of the day, it's your life.
Oh, 100%.
Whole thing together is your life. That's what it is. And we can separate it out and put a little name on it. But really, what it comes down to is this is your life. How do you want to show up? And I love the example that you gave.
And here's a great example. So Lisa's here with us, and she says hello.
I love
Um, Hello, gorgeous people. Hello, Miss Lisa. This is a perfect example. So Lisa was actually, funny enough, she was really the first relationship I made on a professional business level.
Mhm.
Almost 2 years now. I mean, last winter, beginning of last year. So, I mean, a year and a half. She was the first one. And it became the most authentic friendship that I've had within business. I mean, it's more, I would say 90% of the things we talk about are not really business. It's, hey, how's this going? Hey, how's this going? Hey, how's this going? Um,
Excuse me, can I interrupt you for just a minute? I just want to point out, when you speak about her, she is actually the perfect example of thinking about somebody else before she thinks about herself. So she is authentically interested in
oh,
what you want to accomplish, right? And she's not at all thinking about, oh, I wonder what they'll think of me if I say this, or I wonder if they think maybe I'm not, uh, I'm not a good fit for their business. She doesn't even think like that. She
no.
just totally shows up fully authentic, raw, willing to jump in and be the relationship. I just admire and respect that in her, and then it shows up in her business. Then you can see why she's so excellent at what she does. You know,
She's phenomenal. Like, because that's how it is every day. There's never an off day. Like, it is
I believe that.
100% authenticity with it. And this is what she said right here. Like, emotions don't belong in the financial decisions, but does belong in the relationship capital.
Perfect.
Relationship capital is by far the most valuable asset in business. For what I've come to find out, it's not how good am I at balancing the books, how whatever it is. I mean, out of all, there's 1,000 different aspects of business. That by far is the most valuable aspect of it. And emotion. There's emotion there. There is actual authentic care and love for this relationship and
Mm-hmm.
correspondence.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and she was the one who showed me that last year. She was the one who ended up making me realize, like, business isn't about the book, like balancing the books. That's not. I mean, it's certainly an important part, but at the end of the day, it's love, not live.
I love not live. I don't
But yeah, I mean, it's so that authenticity is just so real. Like,
Yeah, and listen, let's make a distinction here too, because those relationships create business, right?
yeah,
Business, you have to have your business acumen. You can't make a decision based on, I feel really good about these numbers. No, you better
no,
know those numbers. You better know them right to the decimal point. You You can't, let's not get confused and let that collapse, right? You've got to know your business. But relationships do create business, right? And that's where, again, integrating who I show up as personally and in business really ought to be the same person.
Oh, 100%. And yeah, I mean, if you don't know your numbers, then that's another problem. But
Yeah, that's another problem. So
but
let's
but
not.
yeah, I mean, there are things. There it is. I swear she reads my mind sometimes.
Where is it? It takes
It takes authentic people to recognize the opportunity to belong.
Okay.
Like, you know, yes, all the thing, the numbers and all that's important. Yeah, it's a part of business, right? Accounting is a part of business. CRM is a part of business. You know, all these things are a different part that are important, yes. But when I say 100% of the things that I have learned and do in business now came from relational capital, that's 100% truth. I mean, it's like, and I was in business school for 2 years. And there has not been one thing in business school that I have actually used in business. It has been the things that I learned from the relationships that I now have.
Right.
And I mean, just like this. I mean, you and I. And it started out as business. It did. But here we are. A month ago, I had a personal life downfall. Like I thought the world was ending, right? Because I'm already, I'm not over dramatic or anything, but you know what I mean. But if it wasn't for that original business relationship, like I don't know who I would have called. Like I don't know who would have been the person to pull me out of the hole and say the world's not ending and this is why. And here she goes. Lisa, you're just popping off, aren't you? She said, someone else.
Showing up for us with others to line and scale, for sure. Yeah, absolutely. I totally agree with that too.
That's again, like it all ties back to balance. I don't think it exists, just like you don't think it really exists either.
I really don't.
It is the integration behind it. I mean,
another thing
on the person. It really, I mean, it does. Like the amount of so-called balance that you have, it depends on the person, and you can tell when somebody's not. You can tell when it's not optimized. Like the integration is not, shooting the right calls at the right time. But it's just it's something you need. In those times you need somebody there. I appreciate it, Miss Erin. If you only knew now.
You really
as soon as I saw it, I had to put it up there. But you can tell when somebody's not on their A game, like when things aren't truly, like I said, so-called balance. Because it starts at a point it starts to hurt other people. And that was when I started out with all of this stuff last year. I realized real quick that, and we learned it again with Adam in September. Was it in September last year? No, it was towards the end of the year. No, it was beginning of this year. Where am I at? Was like, if you're leading this, like if you're leading this march, then you better be on your A game. Like, and that's not possible without the integration and the balance. And Lisa has 2 more things that she would like to say. First is Karen's most real person. And then I can And yes, Lisa, I would agree. I am just starting my integration journey because we have not been very balanced or integrated the last year or so. So the last month has been great. And Lisa was one of the first people I actually called to say, I'm making a change. I'm taking one day off and I'm going to do what I want to do. Like I'm going to work in the yard and I'm going to, paint. Like this was one of those projects. Or I'm whatever. I'm going to go shopping with friends, or I'm going to go out and go dance, or whatever it is.
Yeah.
She was one of the first people I called to tell that to. But she asked, "What's your number one tip? Do you think to say that you're truly integrated?"
I think your example just right now is perfect. When you are willing to listen to yourself and then take action to take care of it. If you're out of balance, so to speak, if you know too many hours at the office, maybe not enough hours at the office, maybe you've got to consider the whole picture, right? There's the physical aspect, there's the mental health aspect, there's the relationship aspect that you have in your life. And for many of us, I would say most of us, at some level, in some way, there's a spiritual aspect where you are connected to yourself and perhaps a higher power. For me, it's God. Maybe not for everybody, doesn't matter. But there is something greater than ourselves that we want to be connected to, correct? We've got to look at all of that. And really every day, let me just say this to you on a very personal note. Last week, I flew out to New York to a funeral, unexpected. We happened to go after the funeral to have lunch at a restaurant. And 8 years ago, my father passed away. And we went to that same restaurant. And it was, I couldn't comprehend, A, it'd been 8 years. And B, here we were again.
Mm-hmm.
And it was so unexpected. And I realized life is precious. We better be super sure of what we want, how badly we want it, and how we're willing to show up. I have so much respect for individuals who have just exceeded their own dreams. I have so much respect for them. I love it. And I respect, sorry, not on a political note, but Elon Musk and his brilliance as much as I respect Mother Teresa and her contribution. So all I'm saying is we got one run at it. We got one life, and it goes by pretty quickly. And if we're going to live it fully with using every gift we've got in our brain, you've got like endless amount of gift. Really, you do. How beautiful is that? How beautiful is that? We love it. We love it. It impacts so many people in so many ways. Great. And there are others that have a similar gift, right? But others have different gifts. Look at Lisa. Like she makes the best out of everybody. She brands in a beautiful way, right? We just have to have integrity again with ourselves. You know when you're getting out of balance. You know when you're making choices that do not align with what you want most. And we've got to have that personal integrity. We've got to be listening. I love to listen to learn. I love it. I love it in my relationships. There are people, if I must say, let me just go back to my children for a minute. Both of them have special needs. You probably would think, what are you going to learn? Really, they teach me so much. Each of us has an opportunity to learn from each other. Even people who you find maybe awkward, or maybe they don't really know that much or have that much business acumen, but they might have that little jewel you just don't have yet. So you listen up. You listen up in those relationships so that you can learn what you don't know. It could make all the difference.
I mean, I completely agree because there's oh my gosh, he's gonna hate that I'm even talking about this, but I'm not name dropping, but there is somebody, and I think he's on right. I think he's on watching live right now. But there is somebody that I met. Gosh, that feels so long ago. It was back when I was like early high school, so like 6
Wow.
or 7 years ago, I think now.
Mhm.
Has kids now and a wife. I mean, it's just like I cannot believe it. But there was something that he went through at that time, and it was the craziest way we met. And I'm not going to say that either, but we met through an organization that some of my family is involved with, and at the time I was like, who is this guy? Like, kind of looks like trouble.
Hmm.
um and then I got to know him, and it didn't take long. I mean, it was like a week. Like, it was just first suspicion. Like, your gut just kind of like is like, like
Hmm.
he's here because of why. Okay. Okay. Yeah. I'll have a conversation. And so, but I did. And I tried it. And I got to know him. He's still, to this day, one of my best friends. And what he had to deal with at that time was something I never in my mind did I think would even like slightly come into my life whatsoever. And I needed advice last week for somebody else because they came to me and I didn't know the answer.
Hmm.
I called him last week and I said, hey, I need your help with something because I don't know the answer, but I know you know the answer, and I need to know how to respond to this person. And 6 years ago, if you would have thought I ever needed that piece of information, I would have told you, no, you're out of your mind. But last week I did, and I knew exactly who I needed to call because I knew he knew what the answer was. I knew he knew what the feeling was. And I know that if I ever get in that place, I know what to do because he's lived it, right? You have no idea what the person next to you checking out at the grocery store
Mhm.
or next to you on the highway when you're driving to work in the morning. You have no idea what the inside of their life looks like. Like, even if you know the person,
Mhm.
like, you have no idea what's going on up here.
So true.
Like, I mean, I'll tell you, mine's straight up a circus. But I mean, you know, I like chaos. I do. I
Mhm.
love chaos. Some people don't like that. That's fine. But I know me, and I know, and it's taken a while, but I've realized that what you said is literally perfect. You have no idea, like,
Mhm.
who this, what the person next to you has. Like,
And I think when you, in business and in your personal life, show up as a contribution,
mhm.
those valuable things in the other person show up. Like, you somehow are granted, this ability to have things maybe that about them or some things that they know, um, show up in a way that contributes to you.
Oh,
And right, and it's a lot of times it's unexpected, and we don't contribute with the intention of receiving. We contribute with the intention of giving. And again, whether that's in your home or in your office, as a leader being vulnerable and willing to contribute to your team, that's your focus. They're going to show up for you. They get it. You can't miss that kind of uh, authenticity and that kind of intention for their welfare. Wow, like they really care. You know, makes them want to give back. Actually,
mhm.
you know.
Oh, 100%. And I like I had this thing that I was going to say, and it's not there anymore. I don't know what it was, but no, I mean, you hit the nail right on the head. I mean, it's just there's so many things that you don't know, and there's value in everything, whether you see it or not. And it, the problems, what we talked about before the show, before we went live, just me and you talking, like there are days, sometimes weeks, sometimes months, sometimes what feels like years of constant, what feels like problems.
Yes.
And there never seems an out. There never seems to be an out. And I've seen this directly with somebody in my family. And it's like, everything is a problem. Like, yes, if you ask anybody else, is it valid that I think this is a problem? Everybody on the planet would say, yeah, that's a problem. Although it might be a problem, look at it every way. Like, that's why you're so unhappy with everything that's going on, is because everything seems like a problem to you. Yes, is it an inconvenience? 100%. Is it something you didn't want to deal with? 100%. Deal with it every day. Like, I get it. Totally get it. And I know 1,000 other people that deal with that kinds of stuff every single day. They're called humans. Like, I mean, it's everybody. But it's all about how you're looking at it. You see the happy, you see this person that's just happy and bubbly all the time. And it's like, that person never looks like they're mad or frustrated or upset, because they look at life a different way.
Yes.
And then, I mean, it's entire, like Lisa said it earlier too. Like, the most real person, like, and you're so authentic, but I've never seen you at the hotel in the lobby or at an event or over the phone or over a text message or on social frustrated or mad or upset, because you look at things a different way. It's okay. Yes, there is a problem here, and I'm not happy with this thing. Another, you already talked about the airport. Like, that, I would have been in that moment. I would have been so frustrated, but you know what? It's what you had to deal with in the moment. And it's not like it's like, you can't be mad about it and then, press the button and go back 5 minutes to not let it happen. I wish that's how it worked, but it's all about how you look at it. Like, it's a problem, yes, but now I know how to do it. I know how to fix it. I know it's a potential thing that could occur or happen. But now I know how to deal with it. And there have been countless times that there's been certain things that have happened that I'm like, oh my God, like, just why? Right? Like, why? Like, this is ridiculous. And I've been so mad and so frustrated. And then after it's over, you're like, I fixed the problem. But then there's, like, if you sit there and actually think about it, which most people don't do this, and this, you get your piece of advice, this is my piece of advice for this right here. In that moment, if there's something that doesn't go the right way, and it's inconvenient, you're not happy, whatever it is, the biggest thing that I've seen, and the difference between me and yourself and unhappiness or unfulfillment, is if you go through something like that, if you go through that problem, whether it's, a death or something happens that you're not, ready to happen, or a client's coming after you, or something at work happens that you're not happy with, or there's a relationship that's coming back and biting you in the rear end. Once it's resolved, look back, like, actually sit down, look at what you wrote during it. If you wrote down anything, think about it. Here's what played out. Hold on. The problem is fixed, but I didn't even learn what I thought I was going to learn. I learned this, and I learned this is how this person thinks. This is how I think. This is how I go about solving a problem. Like, if you actually sit down and go after the problem occurs, and you go through and look at where the problem even originated from, or how it happened and how you fixed it, like, that's the difference. People like, how do you move so quick? Like, you're always doing something different. Well, it's for the last year, that's literally what I've done. And that's just how my brain works.
Right.
I didn't sit down and go, okay, what am I gonna do to get better at this? It literally was that's just how my brain already processed, and then I started writing stuff down. And
Mhm.
that's where it all kind of mapped itself out. Was after I go through a problem, I sit down and I look, okay, yep, over dramatic. It wasn't that bad. Look at all the things I just learned.
Yeah.
And my last job is really where that started at, because there was somebody there that constantly gave me so much anxiety, and like what I prayed and hoped that this person was never there, but I knew they were gonna be there, because every time that person walked through the door, it was like there was a problem, but they had no idea how to fix anything, because they didn't want the problem. They didn't want the problem to exist in the first place, so they would just walk away and leave like it didn't exist. And it's like, you have, look, this is the problem, like it's right here in your face, like.
And you're part of the problem because
Yeah, like, dude, come on, like, are you serious right now? Like, it's here. Like, the problem is right in front of us, and you just want to throw it out the window. It gave me so much anxiety, because then if you tried to fix it, you were also in the wrong, because you're not doing what they wanted you to do. And it's like, that doesn't make any sense, because in a week, when this comes back and somebody comes up here and yells at you, you're going to wish we fixed the problem. But right now, you don't want to fix it. Okay, well, that's fine. But I mean, so at the end of the day, now I'm just ranting. But
no, you're okay.
That's where I learned it all from, though, was those types of situations. And it is exhausting if you are doing it and not taking anything away from the problem. So you've got to look at it and take something away from it. Be like, okay, this is a learning experience. There's value in this. It will be over soon.
Mm-hmm. Well, and one thing that I really appreciate that you said that it brings a lot of value is that your willingness to look at how did I react in all of this? How did I handle this? What can I learn about me? Not only about how to remedy this situation, not only about leadership, not only about some kind of business acumen that you gained. What can I learn about me here? How am I responding in this kind of a situation? And, what can I do better? So I just wanted to, before we got on the show, I had this text just popped up again. And I thought, you know what, I'd love to share it with you, because actually you were right on point. It's I had shared this with a friend of mine just a few days ago. And it was from the book, The Alchemist. So you probably
I've heard about that.
Yeah, great book. Really worth the read. And this was the quote. It says, as he mussed about those things, he realized he had to choose between thinking of himself as the poor victim of a thief, life's circumstances being the thief, and an adventurer in quest of his treasure. I am an adventurer looking for treasure, he said to himself. That's really what it comes down to, how we see it's just one big adventure. And heck, it should be. We tell ourselves a lot of stories around it. I'm not good at this. I shouldn't try for this. I bet I won't be able to do this. Or because I came from this situation, I can only have this, or I should be able to have this because I came from this situation. We create a lot of stories in our life. We've got to clear that up a little bit, right? And just settle in on life is one big adventure. Be super clear again on what you want out of it. And life circumstances are going to arise. I'm going to miss my plane sometimes, or I'm not going to be able to accomplish the one thing I wanted to when I wanted to do it. And okay, then life is an adventure. Now, who am I going to be? What if that shows up? Who am I going to be? Collect as many tools as you can. Keep learning from our relationships, from each other, from whatever sources we can. Keep learning and live the adventure. You'll integrate your life and your business. and you'll have a great adventure.
And it's so much easier and more enjoyable. It's just
Absolutely.
imagine how boring life would be if it was stuck. Oh, I would lose it. I would literally lose my mind. Like if the same thing happened every day. Like I'm fairly spontaneous. Like, you know, I like to think I am. Like I like things to be like if I do it, I like things to be scheduled like last minute. Like I want to have an idea, be like, oh yeah, I'm gonna go do that. Like I'm gonna go somewhere. I'm gonna go grab dinner with this person or whatever it is. Like I like those things spontaneously. I don't like that being on the schedule. But if plans change, woof, like I was sending for a whirl. But I do. I love the spontaneous acts of life. I mean, that's what makes it interesting. Keeps you on your toes, that's for sure. You can't hide in those moments. But no, I mean, life would be so boring without it. I mean,
I know.
if it was,
But we let it stop us sometimes. Like, this is not how I planned it. It's not really what I was expecting. Or this failed. What does that mean? Well, you could make up a whole story about it, but what it really means is that you get to learn here, and failure is my friend because I can now go forward with this experience, and I've learned something of great value, and it doesn't mean anything except okay, I'm gonna try again. That's all.
He's been commenting this whole time, and that's why every now and then I keep chuckling, is because he sends something ridiculous. Like this is the first one I got was the camel. This is my dad.
Oh, your dad.
He left this. Last minute is the only way.
Was there some sarcasm in that?
Oh, that's our thing. Is we have a group chat, and it's sometimes I'll send something serious, and then everyone in the group chat will go back and forth with these random emojis, and so that's where it came from. That's what we do in group chats, and he's in the comments. So we're doing the camel thing. The next one would have been a pepper. If you're wondering, but yeah, he did. I mean, this is my dad. So,
hey, Chris McCrory,
I
you on your wonderful son.
We live life the same way. Oh, there we go. You got that from me.
Yeah,
that's just what I was about to say. That's literally yes. That is 100%. But as much as people hate it, and are like that's just there's the potato. That I am my most creative in those moments, and like there's things that I don't wait till last minute to do. If it's filing my sales tax every month, then yeah, I usually wait till the last minute to do that. But when we're talking about daily processes or whatever else, like I don't wait till the last minute to that things. But when it comes to I need to get this thing done, whatever it might be. I mean, it's happened before with taxes, but I've had an idea. Because it's like I'm frantically trying to get something done, and I just kind of I don't know. I don't know why it does. I don't know why it's like that for me, but
it's okay. We don't all have to do it the same way.
No,
that's effective for you. So good for you. You recognize it. You do it. That's how you work, and that's great. We don't have to do it all the same way.
That's where
going started. You got to know yourself. Listen. Know your strengths.
Life. When you feel like you're tied down, that's when life has you, and it's not the same adventure or journey anymore.
So true.
But this has been great. Thank you so much for taking the time. I know we're 11 minutes over, but I really appreciate it. I enjoyed having a conversation with you today. Is there anything you'd like to say before we head out?
Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it. And I hope that really we take away from here that how valuable to each other that we are. And as we learn, as we invest in those relationships, we are so much the beneficiary. And listen to learn.
100%. I couldn't agree more. Well, not too long, we'll be able to see each other in person and exchange hugs. So I am so excited. But yes, thank you again. If anybody wants to reach out to Karin, talk to her about these things, this is what she does every day. So go check her out on her website and reach out. And then you're on Facebook and Instagram and
Yeah, to be very candid, I'm not a big social media human,
okay. So go to
and
their website.
many clients know that. So, but you
Yes.
can go to my website. So there you go.
Well, perfect. Well, thanks again, guys, for joining us today. We will chat soon.
Okay,
Bye.
take care. Thank you.